What's going on, everybody, and welcome to SuckerFree Sports Talk. I am your host, Sam James. This is the pilot episode of SuckerFree Sports Talk. For those of you who don't know what that means, that's just TV talk for the first episode. But this is my show. It's a new show where we'll be talking everything Chicago sports, more specifically, everything Chicago Bears and Bulls. So if you're a Green Bay Packers fan or a Milwaukee Bucks fan, I don't know, go eat some cheese or ride a cow, whatever it is you guys do up there. But no, I mean, I do have family that are Packers fans, so I can't really say that. I love them pretty much like 363 days out of the year. But this is my show. This is a new show. We're going to be covering everything Chicago sports. I got some fun stuff planned for this, different segments. I want to have some guests on. I want to talk some sports betting, just a general sports variety show. We're covering a lot of stuff. I got some other stuff planned where I'm going to do some man on the street stuff with Bears tailgates before and after, interview some fans, have fun with it. So with that being said, I know everybody is hot for the Bears right now. We got football back this Sunday, and everybody's excited for that. But before we get into that, I want to talk some Chicago Bulls. And what happened last year with the Bulls? What happened in the second half of the season specifically and why they fizzled out. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. I think the Bulls relied on DeMar DeRozan too much, and they got a little too comfortable with that. And everybody remembers last season, Bulls were riding hot with DeMar. DeMar had consecutive games of 35-plus points. I think it was like 13, 14 games where he had it going there. He was breaking Bulls records. He had those games against the Pacers and the Wizards where he hit back-to-back game winners, and I was feeling good about the Bulls. I was actually at that Bulls game in Indianapolis where he hit that game winner, and I was excited. I was feeling good, and maybe I got my expectations up a little bit too much because in that second half of the season, the shit kind of hit the fan with them. And I think they just got too comfortable with DeMar, and I put a lot of that on Billy Donovan, the head coach. I mean, you look at the Bulls season, and DeMar was playing good, and then teams started taking that away, you know. He wasn't getting to his spots on the wing anymore. He wasn't getting in those low post spots anymore. He wasn't getting the ISOs at the top of the key because teams were taking that away, and the Bulls coaching staff and the Bulls as a whole didn't make the proper in-season adjustments to that, you know. I think guys like Zach LaVine and Niko Vucevic, they didn't step up when their time was called, you know. Especially Zach LaVine, I think he had a hard time becoming the second option for the Bulls. And I think he was a little too passive at times for DeMar. And, you know, even in the media, he would talk about how it's DeMar's team and all that. And I give him respect for that, for being humble. But at the same time, I mean, Zach, you're the second option on this team. And he had to step up. And I think at times he didn't. And I think that goes into, you know, the Bulls paying him this offseason. And I know a lot of fans and a lot of analysts were saying, well, you got to give him the money. He's on your team. He's your star player. You got to pay him the max contract. And I get all that. But at the same time, is Zach really the piece of a championship team? And I wonder that, and I think about his play last year, and yeah, he put up the same numbers that he's been putting up. His numbers were good, but does he really have that dog in him that says, you know, I'm going to go get a basket when the team is taking DeMar away, and the team needs a basket, am I going to go get that? I don't know if he has that in him, you know? So I know a lot of people want to say, you know, injuries and COVID and all this really hurt the team as well, but you know, every team deals with that. So, yeah, that's just an excuse for me. And I know Lonzo missed a lot of time. Pat Williams missed a good part of the first half of the season, going into the second half of the season. And Caruso missed some time. So, guys missed some time, and especially Lonzo, you know. Lonzo Ball kind of seems like the catalyst for this team now because after he went down, the Bulls weren't the same. And you should have had guys like Io and Kobe step in there at the point guard position and really assert themselves. And I give Io a lot of credit because he was a rookie, but, you know, guys like Kobe, I mean, how did you digress so much from your rookie season? I mean, he was a really good player his rookie season, and to me, he just hasn't gotten any better. So, you know, the Bulls might struggle here because, let me tell you, Lonzo ain't coming back anytime soon. Reports are that he's still not doing good with the knee. He had that meniscus tear middle of the season last year. He was supposed to be ready before the playoffs, and then it comes out that he's still having discomfort in that knee. So now it's over the summer. Training camp's starting up here in just less than a month in, it's coming out that he's not going to be ready for training camp. So he's not going to be there to save you. So the team, Billy Donovan, the coaching staff, they're going to have to figure something out here for next season. And I like Billy Donovan. I really do. I think he's a good coach. But some of the stuff he struggles with, even going back to his time at OKC with the Thunder, I mean, you had guys like James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, and they never went past the Western Conference Finals. And some of the same stuff that they were having problems with, you can see the Bulls having problems with now. I mean, when teams are taking KD away or Russ away, they didn't really have the offensive game plan to when those guys are being taken away, other guys got to get open and make plays. And at times last year, I'm looking at the Bulls like, what are we running, you know? I mean, pick and roll, I get it. That's what the NBA runs, but their offense as a whole just wasn't there at the second half of the season. I think they started the year 38-21, and after the All-Star break, they were like 8-13, 8-15. Yeah, 8-15. So that's not very good. So looking at next season, I mean, we pretty much have the same roster going forward. I mean, we got a couple other pieces, Andre Drummond, Dalen Terry, but I mean, they're not coming to save you. So guys are going to have to step up on this team. Vucevic, I mean, quit shooting threes, man. Honestly, you got to get on the post. That's where you're most effective is as a low post scorer. And I like him as a low post scorer, and Billy's got to put him in positions to be effective there. He really does. And it's on guys like Nico, it's on guys like Pat Williams to take that next step in their career and really step up and help out DeMar, because DeMar can't carry this team by himself. I love DeMar. I think he's great, but you know, it's coming up on 25 years now that the Bulls haven't won a title. So something's got to change here. We got to get going. Next season, I'm not as excited as I was last season, but hopefully they can sustain some success going into the second half of the year. I don't think they'll start off as hot as they did last year, but, you know, going into the second half of the year after the All-Star break, they got to have a game plan. The coaching staff has to make in-game, in-season adjustments to really help these guys out, because I like our roster. I really do. I liked it last year, but it's the same roster as last year, you know, minus Lonzo for a little bit maybe. So hopefully he can get healthy. Hopefully the team can stay healthy and all that, but, you know, that's just an excuse. So guys got to be ready. Guys got to stay healthy. All right, so that's the Bulls. Let's segue into some Bears talk. The Bears are back. Football is back. I'm excited. Everybody's excited. And we got the San Francisco 49ers coming in week 1. But before we get into that, let's talk about some new additions for the team this year. Free agency, we didn't really pick up that much. Couple guys, Nick Morrow, he'll be playing linebacker, starting next to Roquan. Lucas Patrick, center. He should be starting if he's healthy week 1. Couple guys on the D-line, Justin Jones, Al-Qadiq Muhammad, but not too much in free agency. So, I mean, we're going to have to build with what we got and through the draft. And in the draft, I really like some of the stuff they did. They really backed up that secondary, added some pieces there. Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, they look like studs, man. I mean, what can I say? It's only the preseason, and, you know, everybody's got high hopes for them, but especially Brisker. In that first preseason game, this guy looked like a stud that's going to be here for years to come. I'm excited about that. Third round, they got Velus Jones, receiver. I like him too. He had some big plays in that Seattle preseason game. Dominique Robinson, DN, they got him in like the 4th round. He looks good. And then some of the later round picks, they beefed up that O-line. I mean, they're just late round picks, but one guy they got was Braxton Jones, who has been starting at left tackle, and he looks good. And the O-line as a whole, I mean, you got guys stepping in there, and as it looked like a weak position group to start the year, and now I think it's one of our stronger position groups. I mean, you got Larry Borum at right tackle, Tevin Jenkins filling in at right guard. He looks really good. I'm really impressed with what he's doing. Patrick should be starting at center if his hand's okay. It might be first couple of games he'll be out. We'll see about that. Got Whitehair still, and then you got Jones at left tackle. So I like what this offensive line is looking like. But some new additions just this past couple of weeks that they've added off the waiver wire and roster cuts. Alex Leatherwood. He was a first-round pick last year for the Las Vegas Raiders, And, you know, a lot of guys are excited to have him in here, and I get that. He should, you know, back up some of these guys on the O-line. he's a first-round pick, but he probably shouldn't have been, And guys like this on cuts, I usually say, he was cut for a reason. So we'll see what Leatherwood does there. I like him. He should compete for some second team reps, and I plan on probably seeing him at some point in the season, starting some games because guys always get hurt, guys don't play up to par. So we'll see what Leatherwood does. He's either a guard or a tackle. Right now, I project him as a guard. He's a strong guy, physical run blocker. Pass blocking, he struggled with a lot last year. The Raiders put him at right tackle, and he really struggled a lot at right tackle. So they moved him to guard halfway through the season. Pass blocking, he needs some work there. He needs some coaching. But he seems like an aggressive, strong guy, so we'll see what happens there. But like I said, there's a reason why he was cut. Another guy they picked up, Armon Watts. He was a D lineman, D tackle last few years for the Vikings. Actually started some games last year for the Vikings. He was a surprise cut. I like this guy. He's one of these guys who was cut that I actually think can help the team this year. He put up pretty good numbers last year. Had some sacks, had some QB pressures, had around 50 tackles. I could see him starting some games here for the Bulls coming up, or for the Bears, coming up here. He'll probably compete with reps with Justin Jones and Angelo Blackson, but I like him. That's one guy that you can see playing right away and contributing right away on this defense, and we're going to need it on that D-line. A couple other guys, Kellen Deesh, he's an offensive lineman. He has good potential, good size, 6'7" guy. Amir Smith Marquette. A lot of guys have high praise for this guy. I don't know. Five catches last year. He had a good game against the Bears where he had like 3 catches for 100 yards. But, again, there's a reason why he was cut. But that wide receiver room is going to need the depth. So we'll see how he fits in. And one other guy I want to talk about, Sterling Weatherford. He was a rookie for the Colts this year from Miami of Ohio. He's a linebacker. He played safety in college. So he's got really good athletic traits. He got good size. He's about 6'4", 220. Fast guy, good athlete, so you get him in here. I think he's actually on the practice squad right now, so he's not on the actual roster, but the 53. But, you get him in there, you get some coaching, who knows? You hit on one of these guys, and you never know. So Sterling Weatherford's a guy to look out for. That being said, week 1, we got the San Francisco 49ers coming to town, coming to Chicago. Last year in Chicago, I think the 49ers won 33-17. But it was a closer game than what the final score says. Justin Fields played good last year, first half, but then the defense didn't hold up. Garoppolo absolutely torched the Bears that game in the second half. They couldn't stop the run, and that was one of the big problems last year with the Bears defense. They couldn't stop the run, and frankly, I don't see that getting any better. However, 7.5-point spread, San Francisco's favored. I don't think it's going to be that much of a spread for the game. I think it's going to be closer than that. I think 7.5 points is too much. I think the Bears are going to keep it close. I think the offense with the Bears is going to be a lot more improved than people think. You get a guy like Matt Nagy out of here, and, I hate to say it, but that guy is a total narcissist bonehead who had no business coaching an NFL team. You can just see it in the preseason with the Bears. The offense looks 10 times more disciplined. You're not starting drives 1st and 20, 2nd and 25, not getting the play in. I was so sick of seeing that shit the past few years. And you bring a guy like Luke Getsy in here, the offensive coordinator. I like what he's doing here. He's from the Packers. He runs this West Coast system, a lot of bootlegs, getting Justin Fields on the move. And you'll be surprised. I think this Bears offense is going to be a lot better. Now, you don't have the talent at receiver. I get it. But you got Cole Kmet. You do have Darnell Mooney, who I think is going to have a breakout year. You still got Montgomery. I think the offensive line will be improved. So 7.5 points, no. I think it's going to be a close game. I do ultimately think the Bears will lose this game, but it's going to be a closer game than the spread predicts. And you never know. It's going to end up being, Justin Fields versus Trey Lance maybe. And there's a lot of pressure on Trey Lance. The 49ers just re-signed Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think that only adds pressure to Trey Lance because now you got a guy behind you who's proven. Even last year, he kicked the Bears' ass when he was playing quarterback. He really did, frankly. So Trey Lance, we'll see how he does. He had a couple good preseason games. That last game, he didn't play very well, though. So he's got a lot of pressure on him. I don't anticipate the 49ers pull him the first week. first few weeks, frankly. I mean, you're not going to see Garoppolo unless he gets hurt, I don't think. But we'll see. You never know. 49ers got some other guys, too, though, that are going to cause problems for the Bears. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner. I mean, they got some studs on defense. They got some studs on offense. Deebo Samuel absolutely killed the Bears last year. Talent-wise, I think the 49ers are just a step above the Bears. So, frankly, I think that wins the game. But we'll see. You never know. Luke Getsy, I like this coaching staff. Matt Eberflus, I like what he's doing, the discipline the team's showing. I mean, they're not putting up with some of the same shit that Matt Nagy was last few years. I mean, if guys aren't performing, I don't think they'll hesitate to put another guy in there. So we'll see what happens, but I do think the Bears end up losing a close game. It hurts me to say that, but we'll see what happens. All right. Before we do my picks of the week, I'm going to do 3 picks of the week. Before we get into that, I want to talk some Big Ten football, NCAA football. There was a couple games. Penn State beat Purdue. Ohio State beat Notre Dame. That was good to see. One game I watched, I know everybody in Chicago says Northwestern is Chicago's Big Ten team, but in my mind, it's Illini country around here, A lot of Illini fans from where I'm from. I'm an Illini fan. I love watching Illini football. And I had high hopes for this year. I really did. Brett Bielema, I thought it was going to be a different thing this year, and it seems like more of the same. They had a game against Indiana last week, and they controlled that game. I watched the game. First half, Illinois absolutely controlled that game. Time of possession, plays. They were killing it, man. They just had some bad mistakes. They ran the ball well. This Brown guy, he's dynamite. He had back-to-back games of over 150 yards. He had 199 yards this last game against Indiana. They run the ball well. Isaiah Williams, if you haven't seen this guy, go watch this guy for Illinois. He's a receiver, small, scat receiver. This guy looks really good, man. I mean, if you haven't seen him, he breaks tackles, flies around. He's really good. He did have a bad drop that game, and that's kind of what hurt Illinois. I mean, bad drops, couple fumbles, bad interception, and then I think it came down to bad play calling. They got really manila. They got really predictable. At the goal line, they got stuffed a couple times. I mean, Brett Bielema's going to have to figure something out here. You can't just run the ball 4 plays in a row on the goal line and get stuffed every single play. They're going to have to mix it up a little bit. I'm really disappointed in that loss to Indiana. They beat Wyoming the first week. They look good. I know it's Wyoming, but now you're 1-1. You lost your first game in the Big Ten. The only other teams that really lost a game were Purdue and Nebraska, so you're already behind in the standings. I mean, it kind of seems like more of the same for Illinois football here. We have these high expectations going in, and then things kind of fizzle out, end up winning 4 or 5 games. Hopefully they can turn it around here, keep running the ball well, but get that passing game going, and we'll see what happens. All right, for my picks of the week, I'm going to be doing 3 picks every week, and I'm going to be putting money on these games as well. So if I lose, you lose. If you win, I win. My first game, Chicago Bears. Like I said before, 7.5 points. Bears are plus 7.5. I think that's too high. I think the Bears are going to keep this game close. I think they end up losing by 3 or 4. But 7.5, I don't like that number for San Francisco. So I would take the Bears here, plus 7.5. My next game, the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Bengals. The spread is at 6.5 right now. I think that number is too high. I like the Steelers. Mitch Trubisky, everybody that knows me knows I'm one of the big Mitch Trubisky supporters. I supported him his whole career here. I'm a big fan of his. He's the starting quarterback for Pittsburgh now. Looked really good in the preseason, and I was happy to see that for Mitch. 6.5 points. Bengals, yeah, they were in the Super Bowl last year. We'll see if that carries over to this year. Joe Burrow, 6.5 points. Steelers' roster is pretty good. Besides that offensive line really struggled in the first half of the year, or in the preseason. Preseason, they really struggled. They couldn't protect Mitch. Guys were all over him. So that's like their weak suit. But talent-wise, skill players, Chase Claypool, Najee Harris, their defense is really good. Minkah Fitzpatrick. I like the Steelers in this game, plus 6.5. My third game, Miami Dolphins, -3 against the New England Patriots. Patriots look bad, man. Preseason, they couldn't even move the ball. They couldn't score any points. I think they got Matt Patricia calling the plays for him. He's a former defensive coordinator, former head coach for the Lions. I don't know what I like Belichick, but I don't know what he's doing over here, with this offense. They were a pretty good team last year. They made the playoffs, but in this game, I think Miami's going to be really improved from last year. Guys like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, I think Tua Tagovailoa will be better. That defense is pretty good. I like the Miami Dolphins -3 against the New England Patriots. Those are my 3 picks of the week. I'm going to be betting all those games. I'll probably do a parlay on those too. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up here for SuckerFree Sports Talk. Like I said, I'm your host, Sam James. Thank you for joining me. If you like this show, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below. Follow me on my social media platforms. And I'm going to be trying to do a show every week here. So I might miss a week here and there. I might be doing 2 episodes some weeks. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, I want to do some Bears tailgates, interview some fans, stuff like that. So I'm going to have fun with it. This is going to be a fun show. I'm excited to be with you. Thank you for joining me. And remember, if you're talking sports talk, always keep it sucker free.